Hello, people. A very good evening. We're waiting for another 5 minutes until others join us. Okay. Is that fine? You can interact with me by, writing in the chat. Is that fine, all of you? Angelica, Sachin, Sitaraman, Ayush, Ashish, Ridhima, Amitabh, Vineet. Is that fine? Another 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for responding. Another 5 minutes. We'll wait. Sorry. Thank you, Void. What's your real name? Very interesting. Good evening, Angelica. That's nice. Angelica is from Hyderabad. Where are others from? Can we have a small interaction before others can join us? That's nice. Hyderabad, the city of biryani. Okay. Mr. Vadda is from Vishakhapatnam. Very nice. What's your full name, sir? And Amitabh Ghosh is from Patna. And Siddharthan is from Vilupuram. That's nice. Yes, Angelica is happy she has someone from Vishakhapatnam to join her. Thank you so much, Sachin. Thank you. Bhuvaneshwar, Spurti. Nice. Bhuvneshwari Spurti. Very nice. And how come Vadda Bhuvneshwari? I mean, what's the connection? Haridwar. Ayush is from Haridwar. Very nice. Ashish is from Aurangabad. Very nice. And I'm sitting here from Bangalore. Trichy. Sachin Narayan, you're from Trichy. Very nice. Okay, that's your surname. Nice. Spurti. Can I call you Spurti? Would that be fine? Another 2 minutes, people. We'll start. Okay? 7:05 exact, we'll start. Hmm? Mm-hmm. Hemant from Bangalore. That's nice. Yes. It's good to listen. Very nice. Thank you. And what are you people doing? Like, are you students or are you working professionals? What's your background? Can we have a small interaction? Yes? What are you people doing? What's your background? Are you working? If yes, in which field? You're a student of graphic design, Hemant. Very nice. Siddharthan is a first year student. Very nice. You guys are starting early. That's such a nice thing. Computer science engineering student, Sachin. Very nice. Pune, working, just relocated, Angelica. Okay. From Hyderabad to Pune. How is it? Professional, purchase executive. Very nice, Ashish. Yes, Purti student pursuing graduation in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Very nice. And yes, Siddhartha is also studying artificial intelligence and data science. That's very nice. Ayush Karwal is a BBA student. That's nice. Pharma company as an IT coordinator. Very nice. I'm currently a student, but want to enhance my skill. Absolutely, Amitabh. Yes, we are 7 5 exact people. We will begin. Okay. People who are joining a bit late. Okay, let them. My voice is cracking. Is it so, Angelica? Rest of you, are you able to hear me? Okay. Thank you. Devashi is pursuing BMS. Very nice. Okay, let's begin. Okay. First of all, email is something that's very important, right? It's something through which, we interact with everyone else, be it professionally or even because there are many students when you are applying for a job in particular, or you are seeking some information, or you're giving any sort of information or asking any information. The first kind of interaction that you have with another person is via an email, right? Even before they see you as a person, it's your email that reaches another person. Hence, it becomes very important for us to write a good email, to have an email in the right format, right? So, because we speak a lot about impression management, isn't it? How should we present ourselves? How should we impress others? And email is the first thing that reaches another person. Hence, it becomes extremely important for us to get our email right, isn't it? With that, let's move ahead. I hope you're able to see my screen. Yes? All of you? You able to see my screen? Can you? Can I have a response, please? Yes. Okay. Fine. Thank you. So let's begin. Email writing and structures, right? So the agenda for the day is first we'll be talking about email etiquette, right? Just like how we have formal etiquettes and social etiquettes, how we are expected to behave in a social setting. Similarly, we have something called as email etiquette. How should an email be? How should you frame an email? What are the minor, or important components that you have to take into consideration? So we'll be talking about email etiquette, okay? And we'll be talking about the 6 C's of business writing, which is an absolute necessity, not just when you're writing an email, but anything for that matter, right? Because you'll be sending a lot of emails, be it a business proposal, be it your resume, be it an application, be it, seeking some permission. That involves a lot of writing. Writing emails is only the accepted professional form of interaction, isn't it? So how to get your business writing right? We will see that through the 6 C's, okay? And then we'll be talking about the basic structure of an email, okay? We call it as BASOT. That's BASOT. What exactly is this? We will see ahead, okay? And also, some of us, though we want to, write a good email, maybe the language wouldn't support. Maybe there are a few errors. So what are the things that you have to keep in mind in terms of language when you're writing an email? That's something that we will be dealing with, okay? Apart from that, we will also be analyzing a lot of emails so that we understand what is right and what's not right, okay? And then let's move ahead and let's begin with the session after finishing this agenda, okay? So the first thing, what's an email etiquette? Like I said earlier, just like how we have a social etiquette, right? The guidelines that are there to guide us, to keep us within the frames of the society, how we are expected to behave, how should we interact with others, right? How should we talk to others? In a similar way, in terms of email, the social guidelines of how people interact over an email, right? There are a few set guidelines. What do we mean by guidelines? These are certain rules which are not set very exponentially, right? These are not said in a very explicit way, but these are something that are followed by everyone, okay? That's what we mean by guidelines. So in terms of an email, there are certain guidelines that you have to follow, certain rules which are unset. That's your guidelines. Okay, what exactly are those? We will see ahead. Okay, first of all, Why is email etiquette important? We dealt with it and saw what is exactly a email etiquette, right? It is the guidelines, it is the rules, unsaid rules that you have to follow while writing an email. That's your email etiquette. Moving ahead, why is it important to follow these rules? First, it increases clarity, meaning whatever you're saying, whatever the information that you're giving, there will be more clarity in terms of it. Okay, it will be very clear to the receiver why have you written an email, what is the purpose, and what are you expecting from them. Okay, so this clarity will be there. Okay, secondly, it improves personal and organizational image. When you're writing an image, like I said, it's all about impression management and image management, right? So when you're writing email on a professional capacity, you're not just representing yourself, but you're representing your organization as well, right? So that's about your organizational image. If you commit a mistake while writing an email, it's not just shows bad on you, but also on your organization, right? And when you're writing on your personal capacity, imagine you're writing an email seeking a job, you're writing an email asking something for an external person, right? And there are a few mistakes that you see. Then what will be the image of a person like you, right? What will they think about you? Like I said, even before they see the person who you are. Like, for example, you people are sitting there and I'm here, right? Imagine any one of you. Like, for example, I interacted with Angelica just a while ago. So she writes an email to me. And in case there are some errors in it, then the first impression, even if I haven't had interacted with Angelica, the first impression that I would have is, okay, why the mistake? Is a person really capable? Why such a minor mistake or maybe a major mistake, right? It gives a bad impression, isn't it? So it's all about the image of yourself and image of your organization. Okay. Thirdly, it brings in efficiency. What do we mean by efficiency? When you do a work in a timely manner and in a correct way, we say the work is done efficiently, right? In a similar way, without a lot of effort, when you write an email, in a well-written email is a very nice image of yourself presented in front of others. It's also a form through which you'll be impressing others, right? So that brings in efficiency and also it protects you from legal liability. What do I mean by that? Probably if you're using certain words in your email, you have to be very careful while interacting with others because you wouldn't know what kind of person you are interacting with on the other side, isn't it? So it can be like, if you have used certain words, certain phrases, which the other person kind of, presumes or assumes or takes it in the other way around, then you can get into trouble. So following the rules or, following the email etiquette will help you to be legally safe as well. So it's very important for you to understand or follow the email etiquette. These are the important points or the important reasons why one has to follow email rules. Okay, the guidelines of emails. Okay, with this, let's move ahead. Let's see what exactly consists of the structure of an email and what are the main rules or the thumb rules that you have to follow. Okay, like I said in the agenda, an email has 5 basic, structures. First is the body. B stands for body. A stands for attachment. S stands for subject. O stands for others. And T stands for to. Okay, let's see all of these things in detail. Okay, firstly, the body of an email. That is what you write. First, you have the to, right? Second, you have the CC and the BCC, right? In the to, you will have CC and BCC. Then you have the subject line. Then you have the body. Then you have an emblem where you can attach various things. Maybe a file, maybe a document, maybe a picture, maybe an audio, maybe a video, right? Whatever you need, you can attach. So first we will deal with the body of the email. How exactly should the body of an email be, right? First, we start with salutations. What do we mean by salutations? Greetings, right? we have to greet the other person. How would you do? What is the formal way? If it is a physical interaction, you would be extending your hand and say, hello, Mr. Sunil, hello, Mr. Manoj, whatever, right? But in terms of an email, how would you greet another person, right? If at all you know the other person, you'll be writing Mr. or Miss. You know, you're interacting with them. Many a times you are writing an email to an organization and you do not know whether the person who is receiving that email is a male or a female. Given such a case, it's always best to write, Dear Sir slash Madam, right? Dear Sir slash Madam, comma, and then you write the body of the email, right? So that's the salutations that we use. In case you know the person who is receiving the email is a male, you'd always be using Dear Mr. Manoj, right? Or Hello, Mr. Manoj, right? And in case it's a female, then Dear Miss Angelica, right? Or Dear Miss Srushti, Surabhi, whatever, right? So you will use Mr., Miss, and in case you do not know the sex of the person who is receiving the mail on the other end, you'll be using Mr. slash Miss, okay? So that you address both of them and you are on the safer end, okay? That's how you start. That's the salutations with which you start the body of an email. And how do you write the email? The email body, what should it consist of? Always ensure that the length of an email shouldn't be such that the person has to scroll up and see. In the sense, when you open an email, the length of the screen that's seen, that exactly should be the length of the email. It should be crisp, it should be short, and it should be simple. What do I mean by simple? Do not use overcomplicated words. Do not use too simple words. In the sense, do not use informal words. Okay? Like, for example, instead of saying, can I, can you help? Like, for example, help. I need some help, rather than saying that in a professional email or any email for that matter, you have to use certain formal terms. Instead of help, you can say assistance, right? Instead of asking for I need a, or you can say a favor, right? So there are certain words which is acceptable when we talk, okay? In a verbal format, when we are talking, those words are acceptable. But in a written format, since email is a professional way of interacting, you should always ensure that you use the, formal words, okay? That's one thing. That's what I mean by keeping it simple, okay? And a sentence cannot contain a maximum of 20 words. In the sense, what? Sentences shouldn't be too long, okay? It should be short and crisp. When it is short, it's easier to understand and it looks good. There should be a proper structure, and that structure forms well, and it's easier for the receiver to read when the sentences are short, okay? And the number of paragraphs in a paragraph, the number of lines cannot exceed 4, okay? 4 is the maximum line per paragraph. That you have to keep in mind. Do not write lengthy paragraphs, okay? And do not go beyond 3 paragraphs, okay? Because as I said, when you open an email, whatever you see the body, that must be the length. And obviously, it cannot accommodate more than 3 paragraphs. So maximum of 3 paragraphs and 4 lines per paragraph, not more than that, okay? And use proper salutations while signing off. As important it is to start an email with a good start, it's equally important to end the email with good salutations. So what are the signing off salutations that you can use? You can use something like yours faithfully, like you can see yours sincerely, best wishes, regards, right? You can say, like I'd say, regards, Priyanka, right? Best wishes, Priyanka. Yours sincerely, Priyanka. Yours faithfully, Priyanka. In a similar way, just remember that with all the enthusiasm and such an impressive way you try to start an email, your email should end in an equally important way. You should give importance to the ending as well. Okay. If you can have a digital signature of yours, if you're sending it from an organization, for example, if I am sending it from an organization on behalf of an organization, probably, and it is important for me to give my information to the customer so that they can get in touch with me. They will have my email address for sure, right? Because I'm mailing from the same ID, right? So you can write, for example, Priyanka or XYZ, right? Chief Executive Officer or Chief Content Officer, the company that you belong to. In case it's important for you to furnish your phone number, you can furnish that as well. Okay, that's your signing off. You can create a digital sign off in your emails. Have it created so that you can use it for everyone, especially if you're sending an email from a professional capacity. Okay, so this is about the body of the email. If you have any doubts in here, kindly post, or we will have a small Q&A session at the end. Okay, and then we can have our questions. Kindly write down if you have any questions, and we will discuss over those points at the end. Okay, let's move ahead. This is about the body. Let me remind you again. You have to use Mr/Miss, right? Dear Mr/Miss, comma, and then start your body. Okay, the body of the paragraph, maximum of 3 paragraph, maximum of 4 lines per paragraph. And while signing off, use proper signing off salutations. Okay, that's your body of an email. Moving ahead, attachment, right? Attachment is very important. Many a times it so happens that, we would forget to attach something. That's one mistake that can happen. Another thing that can happen is, probably if you have, you would have attached, but you would have forgotten to mention it, right? Two things that can happen. Okay. Two things that can happen. You can forget to attach the attachment in the mail, or you would have attached it but forgot to mention it. Both things are very important. When you attach it, it's important to mention that in the mail. Say, for your reference, kindly, I have attached an email or a document, kindly refer to it. Okay, it's very important to mention that, because in case you do not mention, the chances are that the other person wouldn't go through the attachment. Okay, so whenever you have an attachment in the mail, ensure that you mention that in your email body as well. Okay, and whenever you're sending an attachment, ensure that it is less than 5 MB. In case it is beyond 5 MB, then always send it in a zip file or a zip folder. Okay, because that will be more safe and it's easier to send. If not, you will face a lot of technical difficulties in terms of sending the attachment. So it has to be less than 5 MB. And if it's more than 5 MB, then you have to make a zip folder and send it across. Okay. And like I said, always mention the details of the attachment. Like, for example, if you're attaching a document consisting of the list of candidates, or if you have attached a resume, right, then you will be mentioning a line in the body of the email. Kindly find my resume attached along with this email. Or you can say, kindly find the document consisting of the list of candidates attached along with this email for your reference. So that liner has to come. And before hitting the send button, always check if you have attached the right attachment or the right file that you intend to send. Many a times, it's a human error, right? Many a times, by mistake, you might attach some other file. So always check which file you have attached. Check if you have attached the attachment and then send it across. Okay, so that's one thing in terms of attachment. In terms of BASOT, we have done with the body, we're done with the attachment. Okay, let's move ahead to the subject. Very important, right? Subject is like the title of a book. Okay, if not, a subject is like the name of a person, right? At many a times when we hear the name of a person, we are like so impressed with their name. It's so interesting. It's so impressive, right? In a similar way. And even the book, how do we choose the books? Based on the titles, isn't it? The title attracts us. The title makes us think whether if we are interested in reading this book or not. In a similar way, the subject is important. Based on the subject, the receiver will decide whether if they want to open your email or not. Okay. Hence, it's very important to get your subject line right. Okay. So that's one thing. And in terms of a subject line, like for example, there is a particular data which says that on an average, a working professional will receive nearly, say, 12 to 18 emails per day. Okay. And when they are receiving so many emails, in for them to prioritize your email, to open your email and see what's in that, the subject has to be catchy and nice. Now, what do I mean by catchy? Do not get too creative. It has to be to the point. The subject has to be crisp, short. Crisp in the sense short, and it has to be to the point. It has to exactly convey what the body of the email consists or what the email is all about. Okay. Like I said, the subject is the window to your email. It will tell what exactly is your email about. Why are you writing this email to the other person? Okay. A subject can contain a maximum of 7 words, but ideally keep it within 5. Okay. And use only in case you're using abbreviations. Okay. Avoid using abbreviations. What do I mean by abbreviations? Acronyms means short forms, right? In case you are using acronyms or short forms or abbreviations, ensure you use only known abbreviations. Okay. If it's something technical, if the other person, you're sure he or she will be aware of it, then use it. If not, no. Okay. If not, there are certain other, terms that are generally used like RSVP, ASAP, right? These are generic terms that you can use, or you can mention something like urgent or for your attention, attention. Some words that draws the other person towards your email or kind of makes them aware that your email is important. Okay. So that's how your subject has to be. And you can ask questions, include deadline, give a command, or add or list. Choose to be unique in your subject line. Like I said, you can be a bit creative, but do not be too creative about your subject. Like, for example, if you're sending a resume, right, you'll be writing application for the post of whatever, the post content writer, for example, application for the post of content writer, or application for content writing post / resume / or underscore resume. Okay. Underscore is usually it appears formal. So use that. Okay. Or if you are sending a project report, okay, project report underscore the name of the company, ABC, XYZ, whatever, right? So that's your subject line. It has to be short. It has to be crisp. It has to convey what the email is all about. Okay. So that's about the subject. And moving ahead, okay, others, that is CC and BCC, right? After 2, you have this column, other, CC, BCC. I hope you are aware what is CC and BCC. CC stands for carbon copy and BCC stands for blind carbon copy. Now, when do you use CC and when do you use BCC? Okay, CC is when you include a person in the CC. That is an email ID in the carbon copy or CC. That person and others. Like for example, say you're sending an email to 3 people, A, B, and C. Okay. So you have sent it to A and B and you have included C in CC. Okay. In that case, AB will be able to see that you have sent the mail to C, and C will also be able to see that you have sent the mail to AB. But on the other hand, when you include C in BCC, that is blind carbon copy, what happens? C will not be able to see that you have, or AB will not be able to see that you have sent this mail to C as well. It is like a blind screen. It acts like a blind screen. AB will not be able to see that this mail has been sent to C as well. Okay. Usually we avoid using BCC, but it also depends on the organizations that you work for. Like for example, You might be sending a mail to a client or to some external customer, and your manager might want to be included in all the mails, right? In that case, you will include your manager in the blind carbon copy. The clients will not be able to see that this email also has your manager in it. On the other hand, if you include your manager in the CC, then the clients will be able to see that your manager is also there in the email. Okay, so that's the basic difference between CC and BCC. We generally avoid using BCC, but again, it depends or varies from one organization to another. Okay, so always check with your organization what they prefer, whether if they prefer to be BCC to be used, if yes, with whom. Okay, so that's one thing that you have to take care of. Hope I'm clear with the CC and the BCC part of email. Okay, so like I said, whenever you're including someone in CC, they will be able to see to whom it's been sent. And when you include people, always ensure that you include them or add them based on their position or hierarchy. Means who comes first. Like for example, manager or your super manager will come first, then your manager, then your team leader, right? The hierarchy matters when you're adding. If not, what you can do is you can add based on the alphabetical order. Okay, so that's how you add, so that nobody feels inferior or superior, nobody feels left out, or nobody feels that you haven't given enough importance. Okay, so always follow a hierarchy or add them based on their alphabetical order. Okay, so that's one thing. And what else should you know? You should resist or desist from using reply all. That's one mistake that we do. Okay, ask any manager, ask any person, ask any working professional for that matter, what is the most irritating thing for them? They would say that being included in a mail that does not require them, or that does not require them to be added there. Okay, that's like an unnecessary task for them to go through it. So that acts like a kind of irritant. So be careful and do not include everyone. Do not reply to all. Only when it's mandatory that you reply to everyone in the mail, then you include them. If not, send it. Be choosy. Choose whom to respond. You have that option. Either reply all, or you can choose whom to reply to. Okay, so those are the things that you have to keep in mind. Do not use reply all until and unless your organization asks for it, or until and unless you feel that the mail or your response has to be read by everyone in the email. Like for example, you might have your super manager, your manager and team leader, and you have and some task has been given, and all of these people are in the mail. You have some doubt which you have to get, which you want to get clarified from your team leader, right? So then you will just include your reply to your team leader and ask the question. If you include your manager and his manager or her manager in that, then it's unnecessary for them to be there, isn't it? So be choosy and desist from using reply all. Okay, so this is about your O, that is others, that is your carbon copy and blind carbon copy. I repeat myself, any doubts, kindly make a note of it. We will discuss it at the end of the session. Okay, moving ahead to, right, very important. To whom are you sending the email? Many a times, what happens when you write a wrong address in a mail? You know, the old mails that we had, we used to put it in the post office and send. It used to go to the wrong people, right? Even when you are sending some requests on social media or anything, you have to get the name of the person right. Similarly, when you're sending an email, ensure you have got the right email. Okay, in the sense that you have the right email address of the receiver to whom you intend to send the mail. Imagine you're sending some important file, okay, or important message in an email, and that gets shared with someone who's nowhere connected, or that gets shared with someone who doesn't need that information. Then it obviously it looks bad. So always get the name right. In case you have any doubts, in case the name is a bit difficult, right? Ask them to spell it, nothing wrong. Whenever you have a doubt, ensure that you clarify. Okay, clarify and include the right name and send it to the right person to whom you intend to send the email. Okay, so that's your 2. Okay, so this is a Bassett structure that we were talking about, right? Body. What is it that you have to keep in mind here? Use proper salutations at the beginning and at the end. And when it comes to the body of the message, maximum of 3 paragraphs, and each paragraph will not consist more than 4 lines. Okay, when it comes to attachment, ensure that you have attached the right file. Okay, and whenever you have attached a file, ensure that you mention that in the body of the email. Say, I have attached this particular file for your reference. Kindly go through it, right? So that's about your attachment. And subject. Subject is like the title of a book. So it's very important to get it right. Keep the subject short, okay? And also to the point. A subject should say what the email is all about, okay? And others is about your carbon copy and blind carbon copy. Or whom to include in the CC, whom to include in the BCC, okay? And that when you are in an organization, it's purely an organizational policy. So do check with your managers whether the organization encourages to use BCC. If not, do not use BCC. Keep people in the CC itself. Okay, so that's your others. And 2, always get the spelling or the email ID of the receiver right. In terms of doubts, always clarify and use the right email ID. Okay, so this is your Bassett structure or the 5 structures of an email, the etiquettes of an email that you have to keep in mind. Very, very important. Okay, moving ahead. 5 C's of business writing. You're writing an email. You're writing something in it, right? So that writing has to be clear. And what is it that we expect in a business writing? The 5 C's. First is correct. Means what? The information that you're giving, the information that you're writing in the email, it has to be correct. Okay, in the sense it has to be the right data. In case be it in terms of the data, be it in terms of the information, use the right data. You cannot make mistake with that in terms of the information. And accurate sentences. Always keep your sentences in the present form or active voice. Okay, so that's one thing. What do I mean by correct exactly? If you can see the example here under correct, right? There is going to be email program conducted this week. Okay, there will be an email program that will be conducted this week. So that's a correct data. There is an email program that's going to happen this week. Okay, that is a correct data that you're giving. But you have to also ensure that your email is complete. Now, what do I mean by complete? Give as many details as possible. Anticipate the receiver's question. Means what? Leave no scope for the other person to have any doubts. Okay. Always think from the other person's point of view. What other information might they need, right? Like, for example, if I say there is an email workshop this week, that's not sufficient. You have to tell if it's a physical workshop, you have to tell where exactly it will be held. You have to tell what time will it be held, right? Like, for example, if you see the example again below complete, right? There is an email program this week and you have to mention the date, the time, and the venue. That's when your information becomes complete, right? Email workshop is there this week. This is a correct information. But when does that information become correct? When you use all the relevant data, that is date, time, venue, right? Everything has to be mentioned. Okay. Moving ahead, the 3rd C stands for concise. What do I mean by concise? Means crisp, right? To the point. Do not beat around the bush. Means what do I say? Do not write unnecessary things. Directly come to the point. You have to say why you have written an email and why exactly your email is important, or what is it that you want the other person to do, receiving your email. That is called the CTA. We will come to it. Okay. But what you have to ensure is your email has to be crisp and concise. Concise in the sense crisp and short. Okay. You have to be directly to the point. Like, for example, and in case there is a lot of information that you have to include in an email, you have to send a lot of data. In that case, one thing what you can do is you can use bulletin pointers. That too cannot be too lengthy. Maximum you can use, say, 5 or 6 bulletin pointers, not more than that. In case the information or the data will be more, then what can you do? Include that data in a document and make it as an attachment and attach it to the email. But keep your email crisp. In case of a large amount of data or more data or information that you want to send, ensure you write it in a document and attach it. Document or an Excel sheet, whatever works for you, or a presentation, whatever works for you, write on that and make it as an attachment and attach. In that way, you will ensure that your email will be crisp. Like, for example, the 3-page agenda of the email program is mailed to you. I have attached the 3-page agenda of the email program that's going to be held this week. Kindly take a look, right? In that way, your email is crisp. And at the same time, you have given all the information that you intended to give. That's being concise, okay? Now, moving to the 4th C. What does the 4th C stand for? It stands for courteous. Means what? Being respectful, right? We have to respect the other person. When we are interacting with other people, we have to respect them, right? In a similar way, when you're writing an email, you have to respect the receiver and how do you show that respect? By using courteous language, by using good, respectful language and the words that you have to use that showcases that respect towards the other person. Like, for example, if you want to attend, please let us know. If you want to attend the email workshop, kindly let us know. Kindly get in touch in case you want to attend the email workshop, right? That's being courteous, right? Use respectful language. And you have to be concrete. Means what? You have to be specific. You have to give specific information, right? Like, for example, I can say the room is very spacious, right? That is not right. That is right, right? When I say a room is spacious, you know it is big, right? But when I say the room is very spacious, it's 1,500 square feet. Means what? I'm being extremely specific there. I can say Mohan is a very intelligent boy. But when I say Mohan is a very intelligent boy, he has scored 100 percentile in his schools or in his exams. Means what? I'm giving a proof. I'm being very exact with what I'm saying, being very specific. That's your concrete. If you see the exam, the program will cover many aspects of daily communication. What will the program cover, right? So these are your 5 C's. Correct, complete, concise, courteous, and concrete. Okay, moving ahead. Inverted pyramid structure of an email means what? How do you grab the attention of a person, of the receiver? First, by using a proper headline, right? Headline means what? Subject, okay? The subject has to be right and to the point. Second, through use exciting and informative details means what? Present. If you're talking to another person, if you're talking very grimly and you're being very serious, obviously the interaction is also going to be kind of very serious, isn't it? In order to make it more exciting, there has to be variation in terms of your tone. There has to be some facial expression. There has to be some gestures and body language that you use. But while interacting in an email, how do you make it more exciting? That you can do with the usage of the words, right? That you can do with the choice of the words that you use, right? So make the information, whatever you're writing, exciting, okay? So that's one thing. And the final one and the very important one is the CTA. Means what? Call to action. Many of you are into your artificial intelligence and, machine learning, right? So CTA is all about call to action. Web development, you would be completely, aware of it, right? So what is it that you want the other person to do? What is the action that you want the other person to take? That's your call to action. And it has to be very clear in an email, okay? Let's go through it in detail. First, a good headline or an attention-grabbing headline means what? You have to make a promise in case you're writing it to a client, you are writing a resume or you're writing some request, right? You have to, it makes a promise, means it kind of gives a hope for the other person. What is this all about? Should I read it or not? Maybe I should read, right? So that's what I mean when I say it has to make a promise, okay? Create different headlines for different segments. right? Students, there are many students over here, right? And there are many professionals who do send emails to many clients. So you cannot have one size fits all. For each position, your resume has to vary. For each client, the body and the entire email has to change. So create different headlines for different segments, okay? And create curiosity. How do you ensure you create curiosity? Like, for example, you can say, a project report or a project review report underscore ABC, right? Or profit and profit margin underscore client ABC, right? Whatever. When you use the word profit, obviously the person will be interested. So you must understand your audience to whom you're sending and understand what will grab their attention. Use such words. But like I said, be creative, but do not get over creative with things. Okay. Use things which are appropriate to be used. There is a difference when you're sending an email and when you're sending a marketing email, right? Marketing emails have the liberty to, be kind of very creative. But you, as a professional, when you're sending other professional emails, you do not have that liberty. Okay. Keep that in your mind. You can be creative, but not over creative. Okay. And your subject line has to be something like it creates curiosity. Like, for example, limited period, right? Urgent, for your information, right? For your attention. All these things will kind of create curiosity or say what exactly can they expect or why is it important. And in case you're writing an email where some image can be used, right? You can use an image, okay, to back your information in the body of the message. Okay, moving ahead, use exciting and informative details. Like I said, right? What do I mean by exciting and informative details? Your information has to build anticipation. Means the other person must feel like opening your email and reading it ahead, right? Not like they read the first two lines and then they are like, no, I do not want to read this. That cannot happen, right? So you have to ensure that you kind of hold on to the interest of the receiver. Okay, that's one thing. And give more details about the promise that you made in the headline. You would have said, right? Project report or profit margin, so and so, right? That those are the things. If that's the word that you have used in your subject line, then you have to go give more information about it in the body of the email. Okay. And whatever you have written in the subject line, the body must be along with it. It must not be something like you have written something in the subject line just to grab the attention of the client and the body of the email is something else. It gives a very bad impression. It almost feels like you are faking, right? It almost feels like you are cheating the other person just to open your email. That's not exactly what you want to be seen as, right? Sorry, right? So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Whatever you write in the subject line, give more information about that in the body of the email. Okay. And highlight what makes you unique, right? Why is the information that you're giving unique? Why is your email important? Ensure you write that very clearly and specifically. Okay. Explain to the reader what they have to do. That is your call to action. Like I said, what is it that you want them to do? That has to be very clearly mentioned in your email. We will see a few examples of emails ahead. In that, you will see how exactly you should write or include the call to action. Okay. Call to action is the point where you close the deal. Means what? If your body of the email has 3 paragraphs, your call to action will come in the 3rd paragraph, in the final paragraph, wherein you say what exactly you want the other person to do. Like, for example, if you're writing or if you're sending across a resume, your call to action would be like, I'm looking forward for an interview call from your end, looking forward for a response from your end. If you're writing an email for a client and you want them to get in touch with you, right, then you would like something like, expecting your response at the earliest, awaiting your response, right? Will await for your response. Kindly get in touch for any queries or more information, right? That's your call to action. You want them to get back and ask more information or get more information about your products or services, isn't it? That's what you want to do. So the CTA has to be very clear, and it has to come in the final or the last paragraph of an email. Okay. A CTA will prompt the receiver to take the action that you want them to take. And it has to be very clear and specific. Okay, that's your CTA. More about it, we will see ahead in the email examples that we will go through. Okay, that will ensure that you have a clarity in terms of how to include the call to action. Okay, we were talking a lot in terms of having paragraphs. You know, I said a maximum of 3 paragraphs, not more than that. And how do you organize the information that you write? What information to be added in the first paragraph? What sort of information should be added in the second paragraph, right? For all those things, here's the answer. In the first paragraph should always be about the purpose of the email. Why are you writing this email? That has to be clearly mentioned in the very first paragraph. Like, for example, look at the examples that's given there. I am writing to you with regards to the email that you had sent on. If you had received an email and you're responding to that, right? I'm writing to you with regards to the email that you had sent on. Specify the date. Be very specific. Remember, the information has to be to the point, right? Or if you are writing to promote your product or service, in that sense, you'll be writing, I'm writing to you with regards to our new services that's launched recently, right? And if you're a student, you're applying for a particular job, then I'm writing to you with regards to the position that's open in your organization. I'm writing to you with regards to the content writing position that's currently open in your organization, right? So this very purpose of the email has to be included in the very first paragraph, and it has to be very clear, okay? If you see more examples, we are pleased to inform you that your proposal has been accepted, right? We are pleased to inform you that we are impressed by your proposal, whatever. Or if you are saying that, sorry, you have been rejected, or sorry, your proposal has been rejected, you can say something like, we are sorry to inform you that the proposal that you had sent has been rejected, or we are sorry to inform you that the meeting that was scheduled to be held on such and such a date has been postponed to another date, right? Whatever you're writing, why you're writing the email, the very purpose has to be included in the very first paragraph, okay? What does the second paragraph consist of? It will consist of more details of the purpose why you are writing this email. What exactly is the purpose of the email that you have mentioned in the first paragraph? Second paragraph, you'll be giving more details. Like, for example, if you're postponing a meeting, you will mention on which date will the meeting be held, what time, what venue, or in case you're required to mention the reason for the postponement, that also you will be adding, right? First paragraph will be the purpose why you're writing. Second paragraph, you will be giving more information about it. Like, for example, if you're a student, you have applied for a particular position. First paragraph, obviously, you'll be writing saying that I'm writing to you with regards to this position that's currently open in your organization. In the second paragraph, you will be writing like, I meet all the requirements that you have mentioned, and I think I'm suitable for this particular position. Kindly go through my resume in order to have a better understanding of my academic records and skill sets, right? So the second paragraph has to give more details about the purpose of why you have written the email, okay? And the third paragraph, or the final paragraph, will consist of the call to action. Like I said, what exactly do you intend the other person to do, right? Like, for example, we saw here, isn't it? What is it that you want them to do? Do you want them to come back to you, right? Do you want them to come back to you, accept your proposal, looking forward for your acceptance, right? Or you can say, looking forward for your response, awaiting your response. What is it that you intend them to do? What is it that you want them to do? That has to come in your final or the third paragraph, okay? And like I said earlier, in case you have a lot of information to be furnished, and if you think the length of the email is going to be more, case, what do? You furnish those information in bulletin pointers, or you write it in detail in a document and attach it to the email. Okay, so this is how you organize your text. Ensure when you open an email, how much it opens in a desktop, That's the only length. That's the only liberty. That's the only length that you can afford. You cannot let the other person to scroll down the email and read the entire thing. When you do that, you're making the other person lose the interest in your email. So whenever you have more information, a lot of information to be included, write it in a document, right? Put all those information in a document and attach it to the email. Okay, that's how you organize your text. I'm repeating myself here. Any questions that you have, kindly make a note and keep. We'll discuss it at the end of the session. Okay, moving ahead, language guidelines, very important. Many a times, the intention is good. Okay, many a times why you're writing, the purpose is very clear, but maybe the language that you use is not clear, right? The language that you use might get confusing. The words that you use might come across as offensive, right? In order to avoid all these things, you have to be very careful with the language that you use. Like I said, there are some formal terms, there are some informal terms. Informal terms are okay when you're speaking in person or over a phone, but an email is a formal way of interaction. So it has to be formal at any case. So how do you ensure that formality? With the choice of the words that you use. Okay, like I said, instead of help, you can use assistance. Instead of saying as a final reminder, you can say a kind reminder, right? Instead of saying a final call, you can say, one last, instead of saying a final call, you could probably say like, a kind reminder, a kind final reminder, whatever. Like I said, your language has to be respectful. Okay, that's one thing. And do not try to showcase your language skills here. That's not needed. You have to be to the point. And whatever the information you have to convey, that has to be conveyed in the right format, right? That's the only purpose. They do not want to be over impressed with your language. So do not kind of dramatize your language, right? Do not overcomplicate it. At the same time, do not keep it too simple. Be to the point. Maintain that balance in terms of your language. Okay. The sequence of the sentence must make sense. Very important, right? A, B, C, D, E, and F. It cannot be A, C, D, B, E, right? So it has to be in a particular order. Like, for example, if I'm applying for a particular position, I'll be writing it as I'm applying for this particular position. So kindly go through my credentials and then please, go through my resume and get back to me in case you feel I suit the position. If you're writing to a client, if you're writing a proposal to the client, it will be something like, hello, you introduce yourself. If you're already, if the client already knows you, well and good. If not, you introduce yourself first, right? I'm so-and-so. I'm writing to you on behalf of this organization. I wish to inform you about this particular product or service that we have recently launched, right? Then you would say how this product or service will be useful to them. And in the final paragraph, you will ask them to get back to you in case they are interested in the service or the product, right? So this is the structure that you have to follow. It has to be a proper structure. You cannot write about your product and service and then introduce yourself, right? You cannot write about, a particular document and then introduce who you are, isn't it? So that becomes very important. The structure of the sentence, the structure of the entire email becomes very important. And another thing which we kind of overlook, which we think is very minor, but is actually a matter of utmost importance, is spelling and grammatical errors. Okay, these are very minute, but they play a very huge role. How? Because they are a question of your impression, because they are a question of the proficiency, your skill set, right? If you cannot write an email properly without errors, if you cannot structure an email properly, means what? You're unable to communicate properly, isn't it? Your communication skills will be in question. So always get the spellings right. Always ensure the grammar is right. What do? First, in that case, if you have doubts in terms of the spellings or the grammatical errors that you might commit, write the email in a document first, right? Have something, it's like it automatically shows the errors, right? Maybe if you have installed Grammarly or any other such, apps, then it will show you what kind of error you're doing, whether if the sentence is grammatically makes sense or not, right? Write it there and then copy and paste in case you have doubts about your grammar or your spellings, okay? To be sure that you're not making any errors, okay? And use words that suit the context. Very important. Like I said, your email has to be respectful. It has to be courteous. It should suit that particular occasion while you're writing. So use suitable words. Like, for example, if you're writing to your higher authority, if you're writing to your manager, the language that you use will be different. On the other hand, if you're interacting with your subordinate, right, with your colleague, the language that you use with your team member, the language that you use will be different, right? So it has to suit the context in that way. What exactly are the words that you can use with your colleague, right? You can be a bit free with your colleague, isn't it? Dear Mohan, I wish to inform you that the meeting that was supposed to be held on such and such a day has been postponed, right? If you're writing to the manager, dear, whatever, ABC, I write to you with regards to the meeting that was supposed to be held on such and such a day. I, regret to inform you that the meeting has been cancelled for whatever the reasons, right? The language differs according to the person to whom you're sending, differs according to the context, right? Differs according to the situation, isn't it? So the language that you use has to suit that particular context. And make sure, like I said, there should be no spelling or grammatical errors. These are some of the language guidelines that you have to keep in mind, okay? And some opening and closing phrases and, attachment phrases that can come in handy to you, okay? That can help you. The opening phrases can be something like, I'm writing to you, or in reply to your letter, or I'm writing to you in response to your mail that was written on, right? Thank you for your letter on June 9th concerning client ABC, whatever. This can be the opening phrases with which you can start your email. Thanks for your email, or I wish to inform that I have received your email, okay? Following our phone conversation, in case you have had a phone conversation, maybe with the recruiter or with your client, and then you're following up that conversation with an email. This, following our phone conversation, I write to you in order to further take our conversation further, or in order to continue with our conversation that was held over a phone call on such and such a day. I write to you with the details of whatever, with the details of client ABC, or with the details of the product and service, whatever. The opening phrases has to be, suitable. These are some of the opening phrases with which you can start an email, okay? And like I said, as much as importance you give to the beginning or the starting of an email, equal importance has to be given when you're ending an email. So closing phrases also become equally important. And what are the phrases through which you can close an email? It could be something like this. Please get in touch with me if you need any more information. If I can be of any further assistance, kindly get in touch, right? Let me know if you need anything else, right? I look forward to hearing from you. Hear from you soon, right? These are some of the phrases through which you can end an email, right? The closing phrases, okay? And like I said, when you have attached a document along with your email, always ensure that you mention that in the email. And how do you mention that? What are the phrases that you can use? You can use something like, I have attached a document which consists of the information of client ABC, right? I have attached a document. I have attached an Excel sheet consisting of the information of the candidates that have been shortlisted, whatever, right? And please find enclosed, right? You can say, please find enclosed a document consisting of information, whatever, that you're writing about, okay? So these are some of the opening phrases, some of the closing phrases, and some of the attachment phrases, means saying that you have attached such and such a document along with this email, okay? Any doubts, kindly make a note. We will discuss it further, okay? Moving ahead, some of the tips that you have to keep in mind when you're writing an email. The subject line has to be very clear and professional, right? Second, choose email salutations carefully, okay? Third, Use standard fonts. Like I said, do not get too creative. Standard fonts are which Times Roman is something that you use, right? That is considered to be a standard font, and the standard font size is considered to be somewhere between 11 to 14. It shouldn't be too tiny, it shouldn't be too big, right? And you cannot bold on something, like unless and until it's the name of a file or a client, right? Avoid boldening everything or itemizing something. Avoid using colorful fonts. It's not encouraged. Do not use colorful fonts. A very bad thing to do. Okay. Especially if the font color is red. It's a big no. Okay. So ensure that you're using a professional font. Okay. And the font size should be anywhere between 11 to 14. Do not color, italize, or bolden your fonts. Okay. Introduce yourself. Whenever you're writing for the first time, always ensure you introduce yourself. Keep your email simple and short. Like I said, it has to be to the point and it has to be crisp, giving, and complete. Remember the 3 C's that we discussed at the beginning of the email that you have to keep in mind. And check for grammar and spelling errors. Like I said, it's a question of your impression. It's a question of who is writing. It's not just a question of your image, your professional image, but also of your organization. So ensure your email is error-free in terms of spellings and grammar. Okay. And maintain a professional tone. Whenever you're talking, your tone matters, isn't it? When you're having a conversation in person, your tone matters. You cannot be too loud. You cannot appear aggressive, right? In a similar way, all the write-ups has a tone, right? How do you maintain that tone? Like when I said, being courteous, being using respectful language, that defines the tone of your writing. Okay, the formal words that you use, that defines the tone of your writing. So ensure your tone is courteous and respectful to the receiver. Okay, and include a good signature block whenever you're writing an email from a professional point of view, from a professional perspective, right? Your name, maybe in case you want to furnish your cell phone number, and your designation, the organization that you work for. That's your signature block. Ensure you have it ready-made so that it's easy. Okay, every time you need not sit and type. Okay, and know whom to CC and BCC. Like I said, it's a question of the organization. What's the practice in your organization? So check if BCC is encouraged. If yes, then use it. If not, desist from using. Okay, and do not be lenient with reply all. Like I said, never use reply all very freely or loosely. Okay. Be very choosy in terms of whom you have to send an email and whom you shouldn't. Okay. And minimize exclamations and no emojis, right? Like I said, email is a formal way of writing, right? It's a formal way of interaction, only formal way of interaction that happens in the business arena, isn't it? So you cannot use emojis there. A big no, right? You cannot use too many exclamations. You cannot use ellipses, right? Means what? A long line of dots that you use. Not supposed to use that. Too many exclamations. No. Okay. Try to keep it simple. A full stop, a comma, a colon, not more than that. Okay. Minimize the number of, punctuation marks that you use. Okay. Minimize exclamations and no emojis. That's what I mean by that. Call out attachments. Like I said, many a times you would have attached, but maybe you would have not mentioned that in the email. The chances are that the other person would not realize that you have sent an attachment. So whenever you have attached something, a file or a document, ensure that you mention a line about that in your email. Okay. Respond in a timely fashion. Ideally, if you are a working professional, you have received an email from a professional capacity, you have to respond to that email within 24 hours. Okay, that's the ideal time. In case you don't want more time, you need to have some discussion with your team, and then get back to the person or respond to that person. Always say, acknowledge that. Thank you for your email. I acknowledge that I have received your email, and be assured that I'll get back to you after having a discussion with my team, or allow me some time to discuss with my team and to get back to you. Okay. And even in that, do not be vague that I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll get back to you at the earliest. Avoid giving such vague, timelines. Be specific. I will get back to you by the end of, maybe tomorrow, by the end of Tuesday, by the end of this week, right? By the end of the month, I will get back to you with a proper response after having a discussion with my team members, right? So ideally respond within 24 hours. If you're not able to, at least acknowledge receiving the email and tell them specifically by when will you get back to them or write back to them, and maintain that timeline that you have promised. Okay, because everything, every word you say is a way of building trust, and business is all about trust, and profession is all about trust. People have to trust on your capability, people have to trust on you as a person, people have to trust on your words, right? So keep up the word that you say, keep up the promise that you make in an email. Okay, and whenever you are out of the office, whenever you're not available, whenever you have taken a leave, right, you're not available, kindly ensure that auto replies, okay, or set office timings. Like for example, you are available in the office between say 10 to 5, right? So set that as your office timings. Beyond that, it will show out of office, right? So that in that case, the other person who's sending or the other person who has sent will understand that, okay, this person is not there, right? And whenever you're sending replies also, some people have this very bad habit of sending emails early in the morning or somewhere late in the night. Imagine you're going to sleep and receiving an email. Imagine you're having a nice family time and receiving some professional email. Obviously, it doesn't give a good image, or and no person, there has to be a proper balance between work and personal life, isn't it? So ensure, maintain, respect that you maintain a good balanced lifestyle for yourself as well as respect the other persons. So ensure you respond within the professional timings. If not, it's like ensure that whenever you are sending, you send it within that timeline. And in case you are on a holiday, you're on a vacation, you do not want to respond, keep that auto email generated. I'm away from work between these dates and will be available only after a particular date. Mention those dates very clearly. Okay. Set such out of office responses. Very important. Okay. These are some of the guidelines that you have to keep in mind. A bit more, no all caps. Like I said, no all caps, no all bold, no italics, no colored fonts. Okay. Divide the content into paragraphs. Very important. Structure your email. What are you writing? Why are you writing? Right? The purpose has to be clear in the first paragraph. Second, give more information about the purpose. Then clearly mention the action that you want the other person to take. When there is a lot of information to be given, use bulletin pointers. Even then, if you feel it's going to be lengthier, then may give that data or mention that information in a document and attach it to the email. Okay. Cut the trail mail if it seems unnecessary. Means what? Like for example, you're forwarding a mail to another person. Okay. Maybe a new person. Or like for example, you're forwarding an conversation that you had with a client to your manager, right? You are supposed to, the information that you intend to send is only in one conversation. But when you forward, everything gets forwarded. So if you want to cut the trail mail. When you have that format, when you forward a particular mail, you have those 3 dots. When you click on those dots, you will see the previous conversation that you have had. If you feel that the other person who is receiving the email there's no necessity that he or she has to know all the conversation that's there, delete that information. Okay. So be careful when you're forwarding. See if the other person needs to go through it or not. If not, spare them from going through that pain of reading that entire conversation. Cut it off, delete that conversation and then forward it. Okay. And give a quick recap and refer to the trail mail if a new person is added. In case the previous one, that is the cut the trail mail if it seems unnecessarily, right? If it's unnecessary that the other person has to receive a particular information, cut it off. In case they have to receive, give a quick recap. So here is a conversation that I had with a client. Kindly go through it and let me know what would be the next move or next measure that we have to take. Okay. If the other person has to know that, then just mention a liner and then forward it. If the other person has to know or receive what the other conversation was all about. Okay. These are some of the things that you have to keep in mind. Now, let's see some of the common mistakes that we do, or how do you exactly write an email. First, Okay. Write an email to a client requesting them to clear the previous bills as it has extended the payment cycle. Also caution them about the further consequences. Very important, isn't it? These are some difficult conversations that you have. You cannot be way too direct. You cannot be way too harsh, isn't it? You have to maintain that professional tone. You need to continue that relationship. So though you have to mention some, what do I say, harsh information, you have to mention it in such a way that, the other person doesn't feel offended. How do you write? And what would be the subject line that you will use? You can use something like clear overdue payments immediately, right? It is very direct. You have to use assertive language. What do we mean by assertive language? Language that is direct, but also doesn't appear offensive to the other person, right? For example, what can you write? Dear Mr. John, the starting, right? Payments from your end has been overdue for the past 3 months, which has significantly extended the payment cycle. We have sent you reminder emails every month. Refer to the attachment. However, there has been no response from your end. If the overdue is not cleared within November 31st, 2023, we will be forced to involve our legal and collection partners. In order to avoid the above action, I request you to clear your dues at the earliest. For any more information, feel free to get in touch with me or contact me. Okay, here, clear overdue payments immediately is your subject line, right? And you have given more information about that, and you have asked them to clear dues. What is the information that you have given? You have attached the reminder emails that you have sent, isn't it? And your CTA is very clear dues. Okay, moving ahead, let's see another example. There has been a small error in the invoice that you have issued for the previous billing, and the difference comes to several $100s. How will you convince the client to pay the difference? A very difficult conversation. Many of you are professionals here. You'll be dealing with clients. Probably if there is a error in terms of the estimation that you have sent, there is a short up in terms of the price estimation that you gave, or in terms of there is an error in terms of the billing that you gave, just like in this scenario. How do you convince the client to pay the extras? This is how you do it. Hello or hi, right? This is regarding invoice number 12325 against PO. The invoice is incorrect and needs a few changes to process it further. The invoice has to have the following details mentioned: PAN number, GST number, registered address. Now that you will be changing the invoice based on the above suggestions, I request you to change the date of the invoice as well. Please reach out in case of any further clarifications, right? So that's how you write when you have to give some altered information or changed information to a client. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, what is the subject, or why are you writing this email? You need some products on a priority basis. There is a shortage of the stock and a shortage of resources to manufacture the same due to festivities. Write an email to request for an early delivery of the product. How do you write? Hi or hello? You cannot use hi. Okay, find out the errors in this particular email. Let me see if you can find out the error. Can you find the error and tell me what exactly are the errors in this particular email? We went through what are the things that you have to keep in mind, isn't it? Can you tell me what exactly are the errors here that you can see? When you're writing a professional email, would you use something like hi? What's the first rule that we learned? That is to use proper salutations, isn't it? So is hi a right thing? No. You have to always say, dear Mr. if it's a mail, or dear Miss, if you're not sure whom you're writing it to and you're writing it to an organization, dear sir or madam, right? Then this is regarding the printing of the new labels by 20th November for the new consignment of desktops. This is a good information. This is the right way to write an email, right? The purpose of writing this email is very clear in the very first sentence. Since there is a long list of holidays due to various festivities, we are facing a shortage of resources to manufacture the same, right? You have written the purpose of the email very clearly in the very first sentence, and then you have explained it a bit. The consignment needs to be in the retail depot by 28th November. Thus, the labels have to reach us by 20th. Hope to receive your full support in this aspect, right? Regards, XYC. Rest of it seems to be fine, right? Let's move ahead and see if there are any mistakes in this particular email. But first of all, let's understand what this email all about, right? Write an email to a client informing them about the rise in commodity tax due to a new government policy, the subsequent hike in the price of tapes, and the sending of the revised invoice. Hi, again, a wrong thing to be used. You have to always use dear so-and-so or dear Mr. So-and-so or dear Miss So-and-so or dear sir or slash madam. This is regarding invoice number. You mentioned the invoice number, very important. Whenever you're mentioning an invoice number, a bill number, a GST number, anything is involved, write the number in the very first sentence so that they can refer back to it. Okay. So this is regarding invoice number 123. The new government policy regarding the rise in commodity tax has led to a slight hike in the prices of the tapes that have been dispatched. The revised price will be INR 12,345 per tape. We will be sending the edited invoice by 20th November 2023. Kindly acknowledge. Regards, XYC. Rest of it seems, if you see, the email is small. Though we said the paragraph cannot exceed 3, right? 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is fine. So in a single paragraph, you have mentioned all the information that you had to give in a very crisp and nice manner, right? Moving ahead, let's see this particular email. What is this email about? You have sent multiple emails to a client requesting them to send the shipping details. However, you haven't received any response. Write an email informing them about the consequences of not getting the details on time, right? You have sent many emails to a client asking them to send the shipping details, but you haven't received any response from them. So you're writing a final email to them, telling them about what would be the consequences that they have to face. This is a difficult conversation that you can have. And how do you write? Again, hello is not the right salutation to be used, isn't it? Identify the mistakes. Kindly mention that in the chat so that I can see that you're identifying the mistakes there rightly. Okay? Hello, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. This is with regards to the shipping details for the 10,000 units of M156 to Vancouver. Any further delay in giving the shipping details will delay the consignment to Vancouver. The units have to be loaded by Friday to reach the destination by the end of this month. Your delay will dissatisfy the end customers who have pre-booked the product, expecting your response immediately. It's an assertive language that they have used, right? Expecting your response immediately. Kindly respond on an immediate basis, right? These are some of the things that you use. Very difficult conversations in emails. Ensure that you use respectful language. You always use something called as the sandwich method. Whenever you have to mention something, a negative information, right? So mention something positive and then mention the negative information and then again back it up with a positive information whenever you're having some difficult information to be conveyed or some crucial information that is not that pleasant to be conveyed. Like, for example, telling them about a legal post, telling them about the further consequence that will happen, right? So all those things are difficult conversations. In such cases, you can always use the sandwich method, okay? So that's about it. And, we have a few more emails, but let's quickly jump into the guidelines, some of the language guidelines that you have to keep in mind. Some of it we already dealt with it, but let me repeat it again for you. First, the language has to be simple. Like I said, do not overcomplicate it or do not oversimplify it. Have that balance always, okay? And sequence of the sentences, paragraph has to be right. A, B, C, D, E, and F. It cannot be A, C, D, B, E, right? It has to be in a proper order. And always check for spelling errors and grammatical errors. And the words has to be chosen based on the context, based on the situation, based on the person to whom you are writing. A client, a different language. Subordinate, different language. Manager, another language, right? Client to whom you're writing the first time, some language. Client whom you are already, in conversation with, another language. So choose your language wisely, okay? And like I said, no grammar or spelling errors, okay? Assertive emails, when you have to convey some crucial information, what are the things? How do you grab the attention of the recipient? First, like I said, the purpose of the email has to be very clear. I'm writing to remind you that I feel you should be made aware of. I would like to point out that, right? And when you have to make the consequences of a particular problem clear, how do you write that? This has resulted in a delay of consignment, as we saw in one of the previous example, right? This has led to the delay in terms of the payment cycle. This has disappointed my team to a huge extent since the payment has been delayed, or since the consignment is not on time, right? This has caused an issue with our financial team, and a legal course will be inevitable, right? When you're making the consequences clear. Very difficult conversations. So you have to use assertive language. Assertive language, you're being direct, but not coming across as offensive. Okay. And when you have to make that consequences will be there if no action is taken. In case, like we saw in one of the previous emails, right? You're sending many emails repeatedly, but there is no response from the other end. Then you have to send a final email saying that if you do not respond this time, then probably it's like we would have to take a legal course. In such cases, how do you write? If immediate steps are not taken to rectify the situation, we will be forced to consider legal action. Unless we receive the parts by Friday, it will be necessary to contact another agent, right? Please send us assurances that this will not happen again. Otherwise, we will have no option but to cancel the contract, right? These are the phrases, the sentences, the terms that you use in order to make sure that the consequences will be there if no action has been taken from the other end. Okay, these are some of the ways in which you write an assertive email. Assertive emails are difficult conversations, but those difficult conversations have to be dealt with in a respectful way, because when you're writing to someone, you cannot end a professional relationship just like that, isn't it? It has to continue. There will be ups and downs. There will be delays at times. There will be postponements at times. But ultimately, the business has to happen for the survival of you as well as the other person. So these are the assertive emails. Okay. Here I come to the end of the email writing workshop. Like I said and reminded you people, in case you have any doubts, right, kindly make a note of it and mention it so that we can discuss it at the end of the session. In case you have any doubts, kindly mention it in the chat so that I can address it. Any doubts, anyone? Anybody has any doubts? If you have, kindly mention it. We have 2 more minutes for the session to get over. And yes, okay, I have one here from Gautam. Please share the slides used in this session for personal reference in the WhatsApp group. Sure, I'll do that, Gautam. Don't worry. We will share the presentation that I have used, the PPT that I have used. Okay. Anything else? Any other doubts, anyone? How to write an assertive email? Yes, Gautam, welcome. How to write an assertive email? In case you have any doubts in terms of what exactly to use in terms of, the opening or the closing salutations, anything? That's very kind of you, Gautam. Thank you so much. Any doubts, anyone? No? Okay. Okay. Sure, Gautam. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session. Let's call it a day. And Gautam, I'm sending the PPT on the WhatsApp group. Thank you. My LinkedIn handle. Okay, you can find me with name. Okay, I'm texting you 1 second. Okay, I have sent you my LinkedIn ID. Anybody? I hope there are no doubts. Last 1 minute. Okay, we'll end the session for now. Thank you all so much for your time and effort. Thank you.